Hi, and welcome to Coping with Stress, a workshop run by the Minto-Mapleton Family Health Team. My name's Joanne. I'm a social worker with the Minto-Mapleton Family Health Team, and I'll be your guide today. Before we start, I'd just like to acknowledge where the information for this presentation came from. So firstly, from the Davis, Eshelman, and McKay Relaxation and Stress Reduction Workbook. Secondly, from the Coping with Stress booklet that was produced by the Canadian Mental Health Association. And thirdly, some of our slides are adapted from a presentation by one of our colleagues, Angela Rolleman. Our agenda today is to talk about stress management as a key to good mental health. We're going to talk about what stress is, sources of stress, signs and symptoms of stress, and of course, strategies to cope with and reduce stress. So the definition of stress, there's several out there, but a few would include that stress is the body's reaction to certain events or stimuli which are perceived as a threat. Secondly, a perception that the demands of a situation outweigh one's resources or coping abilities. And lastly, any change that you must adapt to, ranging from the negative extreme of actual physical danger to the exhilaration of falling in love or achieving some long desired success. Causes you stress? Take a minute to just take note of, are there a couple of things that are increasing your stress levels? Often examples we hear are things like job stressors, family relationships, finances. So how do we know when we're feeling stressed? And we see a zebra here who's losing its stripes and saying, I think it's stress. There's a number of emotional components to stress, and many of the feelings that people have shared with us include feeling overwhelmed, feeling anxious or frustrated, mood swings, feeling impatient, feeling sensitive to comments that otherwise wouldn't have bothered us, feeling sad or depressed, feeling irritable, afraid, angry, or embarrassed. What are some of the cognitive changes that we notice when we're under stress? Some of these include more negative self-talk. And self-talk is that tape that's running through our mind most of the time. We notice that our attitude becomes more negative, that our mind can be overly active. We have difficulty making decisions, difficulty concentrating, increased forgetfulness, and perhaps some confusion, worrying, and dwelling on possible negative outcomes or the worst case scenario outcomes. So what changes in our behaviors when we're under a lot of stress? What we see here is a gentleman who's saying, my doctor said only 1 glass of alcohol per day. I can live with that. And they have likely a gallon-sized glass in front of them. So some of the behaviors that we notice when people are under a lot of stress are perhaps acting more impulsively, difficulty speaking or articulating their thoughts and feelings, lashing out at people, or withdrawing from people, increased smoking or alcohol use, changes in appetite, nervous laughter, performance reduction, grinding teeth, nail biting, neglecting our appearance or not taking as much care with our appearance, and procrastination. So, what do we notice physically when we're feeling stressed? Often people report headaches, problems with sleep, heartburn, a shortness of breath, muscle tension, upset stomach, fatigue, racing heart, sweaty or cold hands, and neck and back pain. So why is stress management important? Well, we know chronic stress can lead to other mental health problems like anxiety disorders and depression, as well as interpersonal difficulties and relationship problems. Symptoms of depression include irritability, difficulty with sleep, lack of motivation and energy, feeling low or sad, a lack of enjoyment in things that used to give us pleasure, feeling like you are a failure, change in appetite, frequent worrying, thoughts of wanting to die or not wanting to go on. So now we're going to talk about what you can do to better manage the stressors in your life. And firstly, we're going to talk about acceptance. So many of you may be familiar with the Serenity Prayer. God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. There are going to be things that we have to deal with that we have no control over. Could be others' behaviors or things in life that just aren't fair. And we are better off accepting these things than wasting our time and energy continuing to be upset about them. So we know that when our stressors become high, that our thinking can become more negative. So I'd encourage you to spend some time increasing your awareness of any negative thinking that might be at play, and then work at challenging those thoughts and replacing them with more flexible or rational beliefs. So an example here is, I will never feel better. And perhaps replacing a thought like this with something that's a little bit more flexible, like, there are things I can do to work towards feeling better. Or the thought, I will never be able to eat my favorite foods. And replacing that with, I can eat some of my favorites, but just not as often. I will never be able to breathe well enough to exercise. With, I can start with easier movements or shorter exercises and build up my tolerance. I'd encourage you to write down any of the negative thoughts that you're trying to shift and practice at developing new thoughts that aren't quite so negative. You could even put the newer thoughts that you're trying to adapt on Post-it notes and place them around your home. It'll help you practice. There's been a lot of research in the last 20 years that indicates that a gratitude practice can leave you feeling more content with what's happening in your life. A gratitude practice can be as simple as taking note of what you're grateful for while you have your morning coffee. Or it could be a journal that you write one or two things in that you're grateful for in the evening or at another time of day. I'd only encourage you to be specific about what you're grateful for, and maybe take a minute now to think about one or two things that you feel grateful for in your life. This information has been adapted from the Relaxation and Stress Reduction Workbook, but essentially studies have shown that the brain interprets a smile, even a fake one, as a positive thing, and that laughter reduces our emotional and physical tension by producing an internal message. It stimulates circulatory, respiratory, vascular, and nervous systems. And when internal spasms subside, there's a release of pressure that reduces muscular tension. It improves our breathing, it reduces cortisol, it pumps endorphins back into the bloodstream, and it's just plain fun. Now, I realize that not every day do we have something to laugh about, but this is where people are now accessing funny videos on YouTube or replaying old sitcoms that they found funny in the past. And so if you're going through a period where there isn't as much to laugh at in your life, maybe find other sources. And again, whether it's through YouTube or a phone call with a good friend that always leaves you chuckling about something. Deep breathing is an amazing tool because it can be done anywhere, at any time. And often improper breathing contributes to anxiety, panic, depression, and muscle tension. Deep breathing provides extra oxygen to the blood. It triggers the body's natural relaxation response. It releases endorphins, slows down the heartbeat, lowers blood pressure, and decreases tension. I'm going to show you how to practice deep breathing. So I always encourage clients to sit or stand in a relaxed position, and one that your back is fully supported. It's very hard to relax if our back doesn't feel supported. And you may have your arms on the arms of your chair or just on your lap. And I want you to start by breathing out like you're blowing out a birthday candle, and then slowly breathing in to the count of 3 or 4 through your nose. Then pause and slowly breathe out like you're blowing out that candle. Let's try that one more time. And you'd like your exhale to be 1 or 2 beats longer than your inhale. So as we breathe in through our nose, we want to take air deep into our lungs and allow our abdomen to expand outward. So rather than breathing like this, where our shoulders go up, we really want to focus on getting air deep into our lungs. So let's try that one more time. Let's breathe out and then slowly breathe in to the count of 3 or 4. And then slowly breathe out to the count of 5 or 6. And then I just encourage you to practice. If you do about 4 rounds of this, which is about 2 minutes, of deep breathing, you'll notice the benefits in your body. And I often encourage people to practice this as they're trying to fall asleep at night, as it gets their body ready to relax into that deep restorative sleep that we all treasure. It will come as likely no surprise to many of you that exercise has often been shown to help people manage their stress. It's one of the simplest and most effective means of stress reduction. Research shows that 30 minutes of exercise 4 times per week can significantly improve depression symptoms. It also raises mood-enhancing neurotransmitters in the brain, releases endorphins, releases muscle tension, and helps people to sleep better. Sleep. There's a number of things to say about sleep. Firstly, adequate sleep depends on each person. As a rule of thumb, we say somewhere between 6 to 8 hours is often what people require. And a tip that I'd offer that people don't usually like to hear is that if you go to bed, you're tucked in, and 15 or 20 minutes later you're still awake, you should likely get up, do something non-stimulating. It could be read the paper, it could be writing in a journal or listening to some music, and then go back to bed and try and reset that sleep switch. Research has shown that the longer that we lie in bed thinking about the fact that we're not falling asleep, the less likely we are to actually fall asleep. A couple of other tips about sleep. If you can, try to go to bed at the same time every day. Try not to eat or drink large amounts before bedtime because you want your body to be focused on relaxation and restoration, not digestion. If you can, avoid nicotine, alcohol, and caffeine in the evening. And I'd also add to that sugar. Sometimes when our sleep switch has been thrown off for various reasons, our bodies become more sensitive to sugar. Exercise regularly, but not right before bed. Sleep primarily at night. So if you can, do not nap during the day if you're in the midst of a sleep disturbance. And instead, I'd say maybe limit a nap to 30 minutes or less, and try and save most of your sleeping time for at night. Try and develop a relaxing bedtime routine. So for some people, it could be a hot bath or shower, it could be reading, it could be stretching. Whatever it is, these are signals to the brain that we're getting ready for sleep. And if, let's say, you crawl into bed and you feel so tired, but your mind starts to become active, then we'd suggest a distraction technique, such as try to recite the alphabet backwards. It's very hard to do that and think about things that are stressing us out, for example, or keeping us awake. And another strategy is to start at 100 and count back by sevens. Try those. See if they help you. Our next strategy involves establishing a support system. Studies have shown enhanced immune responses among people who have had increased group or social support in their lives. This could include spending time with positive people, engaging in community activities, deepening your relationships, online support, pets, professionals, and counseling. Here's a few notes on how to access counseling. If you're part of a family health team, You can ask your doctor or nurse practitioner for a referral to see a family health team social worker. If you have benefits, either through your work currently or in your retirement, you can access your employee assistance program through your employer. You, of course, can purchase counseling or therapy privately. If you're in the area of Minto-Mapleton, you can access Compass Counseling in Guelph and Mount Forest, and their information is noted here. The Ontario Structured Psychotherapy Program through Ontario Health has been around for the last 3 or 4 years, and you can access cognitive behavioral therapy through them. You can just look up the Ontario Structured Psychotherapy Program online, and phone numbers are available depending on the region that you're in Ontario. And lastly, here in Waterloo, Wellington, we have the Canadian Mental Health Crisis Line through here 24/7, and they can help you 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, either in the moment or to access resources to help you better manage. Their number is 1-844-437-3247. If you're starting to make changes to better manage your stress, it's always best to start with simple goals and small steps. It's always best if you set a goal, because then you're more likely to accomplish it, and that the goals are reasonable, that you know you can attain. Don't try to solve big problems all at once, but break them down into smaller, more achievable steps. And of course, acknowledge your accomplishments. Be your own cheerleader. Here's some tips for ongoing emotional health maintenance. Try and have a balance between your work or volunteer work and the rest of your life. Practice self-care, making those things that are important to your health a priority. Build social supports. Vacations, that's with an exclamation point. And it can include armchair vacations. Our local Senior Center for Excellence does armchair vacations once a month, where you can tune in and see photos and hear about experiences of far off places. Nutrition. If you have access to a dietitian through the family health team, take advantage of that resource. Or just pay attention and tweak things in your daily diet that maybe could be improved. End negative behavior patterns. There's lots of resources out there if you're interested in cutting back on smoking, drug use, alcohol, exercise. Take a walk to the end of the block. If you're part of a family health team, you have access to kinesiologists who can help you start an exercise program, or talk to your doctor or nurse practitioner. Sleep. See if you can try one of the tips that we gave in our discussion today to improve your sleep. Leisure and relaxation are important, and we have Feed Your Spirit, which is really just making time for something that you feel joyous about it. So today, maybe pick one thing that you learned that you want to put into practice. Here's a reminder about some of the resources that were used to develop the material for our workshop. And I'd encourage you, if you have the interest, to maybe pick up Davis, Eshelman, and McKay's Relaxation and Stress Reduction Workbook, The Little Book of Stress Relief by Posen, or here's a few apps that we recommend to our clients who are trying to lower the stress in their lives and improve sleep, and that is Calm and Headspace. That's the end of our presentation today on stress management. I hope you found a nugget or perhaps a strategy that you'll use in better managing your stress management. Thanks for spending this time with me.